Well, hello, folks, and welcome once again to this edition of FlockTalk. It's nice to have you along with me here. I was reading recently in the book of Mark, and what's happened is Christ is in the middle of an argument. Now, these arguments he got into towards the end of his ministry, arguments about whether, whose son is the Christ, and from the Sadducees, you might recall, they got into a discussion about whose wife is going to be a woman who was married to 7 men because all the husbands died, etc. And in the middle of this, Christ says something to his hearers that causes us to sit up and take notice. It says, "Then he said to them in his teaching, beware of the scribes who desire to go around in long robes, love greetings in the marketplaces, the best seats in the synagogues, and the best places at feasts, who devour widows' houses and for a pretense make long prayers. These will receive greater condemnation." Now, my friends, this is something to really consider here, because we're talking about people who looked the best, who were doing the worst. Now, how do we evaluate people often? Well, we only can judge by the outward appearance, but we must judge by the complete outward appearance. And that's what Christ is calling us to do here. He says, go beyond what they look like and look at what they're actually doing. He says, beware the scribes. They desire to go around in long robes. This is how they dress. They love greetings in the marketplaces. They love that. They love to be recognized in the marketplace. They love to be recognized by other people. They love the best seats in the synagogues, the best places at feasts. They are really somebodies. But look at what they're doing. They are devouring widows' houses. Now, it's hard to think of too many things that are worse than that. To devour a widow's house is to attack both her person and her property, and ultimately her person, because you need a house to live in, and if you're destitute out on the streets, you may lose your life after a while. So here we are, Christ in one fell swoop talking about people that look really good. And if we saw them, we would maybe want to say, hey, this is not a bad person. This is a good person. Listen, they have a lot of respect. They may even have a show of humility, if you will. But what are they actually doing? This is quite a statement here. We have people that look the best who are doing their worst. Now, why am I talking about this? Am I talking, and it says, beware the scribes. Well, what kind of application do we have here? I'm going to make a very brief application. Devouring widows' houses. Widows get their houses devoured through property taxes. And someone's going to say, well, we don't have people. No one's devouring anybody's house at this point. Certainly the church people aren't doing that. The state isn't doing that. Yes, they are. Because people are getting taxed out of their houses, especially older people. They're getting taxed right out of their houses all the time. I still remember back when I was a youth pastor at a different church, I had to visit a dear older lady named Mrs. Peck. And she lived in Morgantown. And she talked to me. I remember talking to her about trying to sell her house. And she talked about the amount of money that was going to be taken away from her. She was a widow, up there in years. And she talked about selling her house and how difficult it was for her, because she knew that she could get a certain amount for her house, but a great amount was going to be taken away from her. And she told me, she said, I need that money to live on. She's not going to get that money to live on because there is somebody devouring the proceeds of her house. And in this case, it's the state. We have an awful lot of politicians who qualify. I mean, we don't normally think of politicians when Christ is talking about the scribes and the Pharisees. But listen to what our politicians often do. He says, beware the scribes who desire to go around in long robes. Okay, that doesn't necessarily qualify. Love greetings in the marketplaces. Oh, yeah. Best seats in the synagogues. Oh, yeah, maybe not the synagogues, but other places in public. Yeah, give them a prominent seat. Why? This is our representative. This is our senator. This is our governor. This is our president. We need to give this person great respect. and the best places at feasts, yeah, give them a prominent spot, who devour widows' houses. And my friends, widows' houses are definitely being devoured by the very same people who love the best places at the feasts and who love these prominent places. Let's read the Bible for the application that it gives us. This is a horrible thing that's going on in our nation today, in our country, in our county, in our state. But Christ actually talked about it. And what I want to communicate with this brief flock talk is you must look at people that desire all the best places and desire to be greeted and desire to be noticed and so forth. Look at what they're actually doing. And Christ here is talking about people who look really good, but who are actually attacking the person and the property of their neighbors. Would to God that every single politician who names the name of Christ would do everything that he can to stop the attack on the property, on the houses of widows. Thank you very much for your brief attention in this very brief Flock Talk. Look forward to seeing you all soon.